Last week on
Convo from EPA featuring Sharifa Wilson.
12 years on the city council and 12 years on the school board.
All right.
Honestly, it feels like a huge weight. I mean, I honestly can't wait until December when I realize I don't have to go to a meeting. You know, you have to want to do the work. I have the desire to do the work because of the way that I was raised. I was raised to be involved in community. My parents. So again, my goal is to really try to put together a leadership training program, a grassroots leadership training program for young people, young adults in East Palo Alto who are interested in serving. And I would advise them and encourage them to fill out, to go sit on the planning commission, especially. So this is the other thing is that people don't realize is that the planning commission has a tremendous amount of power. It's a commission, but that's where all the developers, everybody who does anything, has to go before the planning commission. The planning commission decides on traffic issues.
And who decides who gets on the planning commission?
This council, people just apply. You just fill out an application.
Okay. So the city council, they have to vote in the person to get.
Yes,
okay.
Right. And then again, usually what happens is that we don't even have enough people who want to apply. Now, though, because we have a lot of new people coming in who have a better understanding of the process, they're submitting their applications to serve. And if people from the community, indigenous people, don't put in their applications, ultimately it's going to be people who really don't have a long entrenched history of the community, and their interest is different than those of us who have been here 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So, again, I would be telling people go apply to serve on a commission.
Definitely. And people who've been in East Palo Alto who have, stakeholding and who's...
Well, there's stakeholders too, but they just have a different... I think part of it is that they don't, and we don't teach them the history, but also we as people of color have to understand the importance of us staying politically engaged, particularly on the local level, because that's where you decide on who's mayor. It's the mayor in some of the larger cities. It's a full-time job, and so the mayor has a lot more power than they do in East Palo Alto. But the reality is that it's the council that ultimately makes a decision about what happens in the community. And if the council doesn't reflect people whose interest is to work in the interests of local people, then what's going to happen is that decisions are going to be made that don't consider, Mrs. Jones has been here for 50 years, so.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep that connection, right? So yeah, let's get into some of these questions.
Okay.
All right.
So I kind of went through why I like about East Palo Alto right now. The activism, the potential, for activism.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the families are still connected. You can go places and run into people. So that's one of the best things about the community.
Yeah, the sense of family, and families are strong. And
Yeah.
So what tools or techniques can we use to better prepare community members for civic service?
So again, we were just talking about that. One of the tools is to serve on a commission. The other thing is that because of the COVID, there's some pluses and minuses, mostly minus, but the fact that we now have the technology that all the meetings are publicly on Zoom. I mean, all the meetings now. So you can watch the planning commission meeting, you can watch the city council meetings, you can watch the school board meetings, you can watch the Sequoia district meetings. You can watch any of the meetings now by Zoom.
Okay.
So that is a great way right now
Mm-hmm.
for people to start tuning in. You don't have to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay on mute the whole time. The agendas are all posted
Okay.
where you can open up all of the attachments. You can read all the reports. All that stuff is now at your fingertips.
Uh-huh.
And so one of the tools and the techniques is that we should use the technology that's available.
So one thing when it comes to like when I get an agenda, you know, it's full of information.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like kind of break down that information, and like do you ever like mark it up and say who voted for what and like say that for later, like that information, you know, like it kind of gets lost in the sauce, you know, throughout the meeting. So
Okay,
is
so
there a way you keep track of that?
yeah, so I take notes on everything.
Okay.
Okay, that's the first thing. What I use is that I will take my agenda, the printed out agenda,
Mm-hmm.
and I will write like who made the motion and who seconded it and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of understanding that the issue, you got to drill down into the report. So again, on every agenda now, it's posted.
Mm-hmm.
There's an attachment.
Mm-hmm.
It says staff report.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that staff report and read it.
Okay.
You know, sometimes the staff report usually they have a lot of attachments, so you don't necessarily have to read all the attachments.
Uh-huh.
But the important part is to read that face memo that the staff submits to the council members or to the school board members, to whoever,
Okay.
because it describes
Mm-hmm.
the item,
So summarize it.
summarizes it, yes,
Okay.
and gives a recommendation usually.
Okay.
So there'll be a recommendation posted there too. So you'll know which way that they're directing the staff to do. The staff is directing the council in which direction. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
All
what I'm saying. The stuff is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we groom?
Yeah. How do we grow?
Yeah, we need a, and again, now we have virtual. We could do virtual leadership development
Mm-hmm.
meetings. So there are already some leadership training opportunities. I want to do grassroots. I want to do how you go from sitting there
Mm-hmm.
to serving in office and
Mhm.
what you need to do to get there. Because I want to work with homegrown people. I
Mhm.
think that that's what the difference is for me. Is that I want to only work with local young adults from here, not necessarily living here now,
Mhm.
but they may have grown up here
Mhm.
and had to move, and then it's about finding them a place to live
Mm-hmm.
and bringing them back to community.
Definitely.
But that's really what I think is the way that we have to do that. And I don't know whether we can generate some funding to support that, but it would be a good idea.
Definitely, and I feel like with the area and prices of houses, like we need to really come up with a great strategy for people to move back in a way where they can stay long term.
Yeah.
In order to make that impact.
So I have a strategy
Okay.
that it's actually. So I'm not going to be on the school board, but doesn't mean that I'm, not going to keep doing stuff. So I want to focus on the ADUs, accessory dwelling units.
Okay.
Those are those second units that you can put on your property.
Yes.
Okay. The law changed starting as of January last year, or maybe January this year. Anybody with a standard lot can now put a second unit on their property.
Oh wow.
The size is limited to the size of the lot.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, in East Palo Alto, most of our lots are 5,000 square foot.
Uh-huh.
On a 5,000 square foot lot, you can put, I think it's up to 800 square foot, which is a one bedroom
Wow.
unit.
Okay.
Okay? Now, East Palo Alto, the city, and EPA can do, okay, just received a $1 million grant to make $100,000 interest-free loans to local residents who wish to add a second unit to their property on the condition that they rent to a low-income person.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay? So I want to try to help organize some of the African American property owners here who have large lots, who can provide a place for their nephew, their grandchild, their
Trust me,
instead of them sleeping on their
trust me,
couch.
people want to stay here. You know?
Right. I know that.
People wanna
People want to come back here. And it's a matter of providing the information because unfortunately what's been happening in this community is because African Americans no longer are the majority. Most of the resources, most of the information, most of the services are going to other cultures.
When did you
Not
notice
to
a huge drop off? Like I had noticed that there was a time where we were the majority. Do you remember that time where we were the majority and then we start dropping off in huge numbers? Because we went from what? When it's 80?
it was at least 95%.
95% to now
10.
10?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to say
Yeah.
8, but
Yeah.
you can say
And
10.
part of it is because